Welcome to the Sales Expert Channel. I'm Alice Heiman, and with me is Liz Heiman, my partner, and yes, she is my sister. Welcome, Liz.
Hi.
Liz and I are here to talk to you about bridging the gap between sales and marketing. This is a hot topic. We have had so many people asking us about how we get sales and marketing to work together to generate more leads and support our sales teams through the entire sales process. So we're very excited to present this to you today. And we encourage you not only to listen to us on this webinar, but to follow the Sales Expert channel, because we have, I don't know, now over 60 experts that give you great content for every topic of sales that you can imagine. So please do take a minute and follow the Sales Expert channel. So Liz, before we get started, what do we need to know?
Well, there's just a couple of things that you should be aware of while you're watching us. If you take a look at your dashboard, you'll see some tabs or buttons that will help you during this Bright Talk presentation. The first one is the Ask Questions button. Please use this liberally. We love questions, and we will answer them at the end.
Yeah, if you didn't see that button, it's just right below the slide. It says Ask Questions, Attachments, Rate This, and Details, just right there below the slide.
Let's see if you guys can find it. Will you write either hello or let us know where you're from? Put something in there so we know you know how to use that.
So click that Ask Questions button and say hello to us and tell us where you're listening from today.
And I also want to let you know that there's an Attachments and Links button. So if when we're done, you won't need that now, but when we're done, go ahead and take time to download that attachment. I think you'll find it's really useful. This is just a little gift from me and Alice to you. And there's just one final thing, and that is if you're having trouble hearing, there's actually a button, I believe, that says having trouble hearing. And if you're having trouble hearing, first try turning up the sound, and if the sound goes away, click there and see if there are options. Is that button not there anymore, Alice?
It is right under the Ask a Question box.
So if you have trouble hearing, there's nothing we can do about it, unfortunately, but they will be able to. So go ahead and click on that box. So,
wow, we got people calling in from all over the place: Chicago, Maryland, Asheville, North Carolina, Reno. Great. Just put that in and tell us where you're calling from. Fantastic. Great to have people from all over. Ohio. Love it. All right. They're streaming in. That's fantastic.
All right. So while you guys are letting us know where you're from, let's go ahead, and Alice and I are going to dive right in. And what we want to demonstrate for you is what does it sound like when sales and marketing are not aligned. So here we go.
Here we go.
Liz, I'm just wondering, what are you guys over there in marketing doing to generate some leads for sale? Oh, we are so excited, Alice. We just put out this great new website, and didn't you love that cool new white paper we posted? And we have a brand new campaign. I bet you can't wait to see it.
Oh, websites and white papers and email. Well, that's all great, but we don't have any leads over here in sales.
What do you mean you don't have any leads? What did you do with all those MQLs I sent you?
MQLs? Those are not qualified leads, Liz.
What do you mean they aren't qualified leads? Of course they are. They downloaded content, and they meet the criteria you gave us for an ideal customer, for qualified leads. So not only are they qualified, they're interested.
Oh, my gosh. Just because they downloaded a white paper doesn't mean they're interested. A lot of companies who are not qualified download our white papers because they're such good stuff. But a lot of times, my salespeople call them. Not only are they not qualified, a lot of times they're getting hung up on. I want my salespeople to have more sales conversations with interested buyers. But instead, they're spending hours combing LinkedIn, sending out their own emails, and cold calling. I mean, it's not that they shouldn't be doing some of those things, but holy cow.
Wait a minute. We're generating leads. Why are you looking on LinkedIn and cold calling to get leads?
Well, we need some appointments with qualified buyers.
Oh, that's not our job. That's the SDRs.
So if this sounds at all familiar, you're in the right place. And of course, we might be exaggerating a little bit, but we have actually heard many conversations like this. And hopefully it's not this bad at your company. But what's happening is there's a disconnect between what sales and marketing are doing, whose job it is. And yes, salespeople need to help generate leads too. But together, it works better.
So maybe it's not quite that bad at your company, but clearly in most companies, there's a gap. And so what we want to talk to you about today is how do you bridge the gap between sales and marketing? And the answer is first focusing on getting aligned and then moving toward collaboration. We're going to talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so in my opinion, alignment isn't just quite enough. We really need to move from alignment, which most of us aren't even there yet, but we got to get aligned. And then we have to get to a point where we collaborate, because this top of the funnel where sales is depending on marketing to bring them leads is just so critical. So if we're going to be successful, we've got to start somewhere. So let's keep it simple. We want to agree on the definition of the target market. That's something critical that we have to do so that marketing isn't off collecting leads and getting people to download white papers that aren't really people that sales wants to talk to. Now, we can't help who downloads the white papers. Everybody wants great information. But somehow we have to screen those and agree that if this is our target market, then these are the leads that are going to get passed forward. Then we have to align around the messaging. So both sales and marketing, Liz, are trying to build awareness, but how we do it, what we say, the words we use, we've got to get alignment, and we've got to all be using the same words. And then we can collaborate to develop interest, which is where the fun really happens, because that's when we get people on the phone and get to have sales conversations.
Yeah, and so it's really important that when we're speaking to our customers, that sales and marketing are speaking the same language, that we're talking about our brand and our products in the same way with the same language throughout the lead gen process and customer journey. So when we start mixing up and mismatching language and talking about different things, we have a problem, and it really dilutes the brand and it confuses our customers.
And so many times we see that marketing has some great messaging, but sales has not been taught to use it. And so we really have to take a look at all of that. So let's start by thinking about what's happening in the lead gen process. And there are really three things that have to be done in order to get a salesperson on the phone with someone who's interested so they can have a great conversation and do a discovery and find out whether it's a fit. But we can't even get there. Most companies, if their salespeople just had a few more conversations every single day with an interested prospect, would be able to hit their goals. But right now we know most salespeople are not hitting their goals. So what we want to do is, again, identify that target audience. Who exactly is it that we want to have loading up the top of our funnel? What do these companies look like? What are the demographics of these companies? And then inside of that, we want to know who are we going to talk to at each one of these companies. And sales and marketing have to agree on those. Then we want to figure out what we're going to do to build awareness. So like these white papers, Liz, are really great. They're fantastic when it's good content. They can capture people's attention and let them know that we're there. Here we are, right? And so it's a great thing to have lots of great content for your salespeople to post on social media, because it absolutely helps build the brand awareness. Both salespeople and marketing have to work together to build brand awareness online. So that's just key, and typically we see that sales and marketing are not working together online. In fact, they're sometimes even working at cross purposes. Then lastly here, again, keeping it simple, the 1, 2, 3, we want to develop interest, because once we develop interest, people will get on the phone. So identify your target audience, build awareness, and develop leads, and have alignment in that process.
Yep. So let's start by talking about identifying your target market. When we say this, we're not talking in really general terms about, we sell to,
people in the medical industry.
Yeah, that's a little not clear enough. So what we really want to do is make sure that sales and marketing are working together to develop and agree on a clear and specific definition of what a lead is. So sales doesn't come back and say, hey, why are you guys in marketing giving me manufacturers in Poland when we agreed on distribution companies in the U.S.? That really is important, the clarity around what makes a good fit, what size, what industry, but also what kinds of technologies they use or what things are important in their industry. There are all these things that we need to align around. So the more specific we can be, the more accurate.
And the thing about identifying your target audience is that that's where we're going to spend our time, money, and resources. It doesn't mean that if somebody outside your target audience calls, you're going to completely ignore them. It just means that we're going to spend time, money, and resources pushing out to pull the right people towards us. And then as other things come in, we can decide whether we want to do that business or not. But this keeps us focused with our time, money, and resources on the audience that we want the most.
And those tend to be the people who are going to close the most quickly, have the highest revenue, be most likely to renew or buy more from us. So it's important in the long run to identify that target market. We also need to understand that for a variety of reasons, sales may not want to follow up on the leads they get from marketing. For example, if marketing gives a sales rep a lead that's worth $40,000 and they know that it's going to take them just as much energy to close that $40,000 lead as it is to close the $250,000 lead, and they've got one of those, guess where they're going to spend their energy? So marketing needs to be aware of what's going to be the priority for sales. They also need to make sure that they're putting their leads back through the target market filter before they send it to sales, because if sales gets it and it's not a good fit, they're not going to follow through with it.
Right, and then everybody's arguing, oh, we sent you all those MQLs and SQLs and blah, 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 A, B, C, D, E, and you didn't do it.
Well, but you know, Alice, that sales does not believe that just because somebody downloaded something that they're a lead.
And they definitely are not. And again, if you are getting a lot of companies that are smaller when what you want is bigger companies, then you're going to have to figure out a way to serve those smaller companies without spending a lot of time, because it costs money. And salespeople obviously are going to go after the big deals, and they should. That's where they need to spend their time. So sometimes you can, put in an inside sales team or somebody to kind of talk to these smaller companies or figure out a way. But when we're passing a rep leads that are, some are $40,000 and some are $250,000, you know which ones they're going to go after. They're going to go after the bigger deals. So if we want to align around building awareness, we need to start by agreeing on the message, right? So we've got our target audience. We know who we're after. We know the buyer personas within that target audience. And we have to have some sort of message that gets their attention. We can't just put messaging out there and hope. We need messaging that is narrowed down to each specific buyer. And again, we call them buying influences. Some people call them buyer personas. It doesn't matter. But you know if you're talking to a CMO, a chief marketing officer, or a CFO, a chief financial officer, they are going to need a different message to get interested. So we have to make sure we have the right messaging for them. And it's helpful when marketing can give sales that messaging, because sales, they're not necessarily great writers. They don't know how to, develop content. They need marketing's help to get the right messaging to use for the right audience at the right time.
And that means that they need to be focused on problems and solutions, not on
products and services. Yeah. Right. So the message isn't, hey, we make this great product and it does this, 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 this. It's, hey, we know you have these problems and we have some ideas on how we can solve those. Let's have a conversation.
So let's think about some ways that sales and marketing can be working together to build awareness. Here's just a couple of examples. They can be using email campaigns or social media campaigns. They can be interacting on social media in different ways. They could be at trade shows or events. There's lots of places that they can be coordinating around this effort.
So this is building awareness is, again, both sales and marketing, right? Marketing sends out some campaigns, but sales can be sending out campaigns too, but they can't be at cross purposes. They need to send out campaigns with the same message. Social media, again, I said it earlier, we don't want to go cross purposes on social media. We need content for marketing. We need them to be posting that content so salespeople have something great to share, and the same messaging that's going to go out. And the same with trade shows. We work together, sales and marketing, work hard together to do the before, during, and after. And if you want more information on how to really do a great trade show,
that's the download.
That's one of the downloads. So after this, you can go ahead and click the attachments button, and you'll be able to get an ebook on how to do a great trade show, and sales and marketing can work together on that. All right, so the next thing is we have to develop interest. So, of course, you can't develop interest if they don't even know you exist.
Got to have the awareness first.
Yeah, awareness has to be first. So we have to develop interest so we can get them on the phone and have more sales conversations. This is just critical. That's why I said earlier, alignment's only part of the story. Alignment is just kind of, this is your, entree here, right? You just get to start right here. But if we can develop interest together, sales and marketing, and get more sales conversations happening, that's where the magic is. Everybody's happy because we have more sales conversations. We've collaborated to get them, and there's no confusion about it.
So if sales and marketing can collaborate throughout the process, but particularly at this point where sales is going to get on the phone with prospects, if sales and marketing are collaborating, you're really going to have the results that you're looking for.
So sales and marketing need to determine who's responsible for what during the building awareness stage. I mean, I think the targeting is really done by marketing. It should be done based on market research and what the leadership has said they want, the vision for the company to be. That drives who your target is going to be. And that should be set, right? Now, sales can have some input into that because things change as we go along, and salespeople talk to the actual people who you've told them to talk to, and they can give you feedback. So the target audience can change. But basically, that's going to be set. And then you are going to figure out how to build awareness together and then move into the determine interest, which is, again, where the salespeople really get on the phone with people.
So during this building awareness stage, it's really important, once your sales rep is on the phone with a customer, that it's clear who's responsible for what. So marketing and sales are not tripping over each other and the customer's not confused.
Right, because we're going to continue communicating with the customer all the way through the sales process. So if sales is working with them, marketing has to start to change what they're doing.
So what we really want to do is make sure that we are thinking about what's happening along the customer journey as sales and marketing are communicating with them. So marketing has this target audience. So if you look at the sort of top line, there's this general target audience messaging that happens. But then what happens when someone becomes a prospect? Well, marketing needs to make a turn, and they need to figure out in conjunction with sales what messaging should be being sent at this time, and how would you determine when it should be sent and what it should say. And then, again, you got to make another turn when someone becomes a client. What does marketing do differently? Or, how do we work together to make sure that we're communicating with our clients in the right way with the right messaging and not sending general target audience nonsense at them when they are already way past the awareness stage.
Well, it just happened the other day. I had a client, the sales team came to me and said, oh my gosh, how do we get marketing to stop sending messages to our clients as if they've never heard of us, right? Because these people
built awareness,
stay on the list, and we just keep sending them the same exact messaging. When we have a prospect who is working with a sales rep, a different set of messaging needs to go. And, of course, once they become a client, marketing must still send messaging out, but it must be appropriate to what a client needs. Maybe now it's tips on the product or success stories or a newsletter on how to use the product or other products that are coming.
Building awareness about other products that maybe they're not using or not aware of. But that means that we need to make sure that we know which products our clients are using, and we can communicate with them appropriately about the ones that are not.
So in smaller companies, we don't have a lot of fancy programs to do this with, and this is a logistical nightmare, right? How do we get people off one list and onto another list, and how does that all get communicated? So it is something that you absolutely have to work with your team on. Where, who's on the list? How do they get moved from the prospect list to the client list, or how do they get moved from the target audience list to the prospect list? There have to be triggers set up in your systems so that we can move people from one list to the other and get them the proper messaging all the way through the life cycle and even beyond when they are still a customer, so that we can, when they become a customer, we can upsell them, we can continue to help retain them by sending great tips and information, but we have to work together to make sure that that's happening.
So, and we want to be, it's really important. So as we're moving through the buyer journey or through the selling funnel, however you want to look at it, it's important to think about, one, how we're collaborating, but two, the handoff. So if marketing has been handling it and they're handing it off to sales, that's great. But then there's another handoff that happens. When somebody becomes a client, there may be a handoff to the different product teams or so forth that are going to handle it. But what if a client doesn't close? What if a deal doesn't close? We don't want to just lose them. We want to make sure that we've got them back into the top of an appropriate marketing funnel so that they're continuing to get messaging about us in case they need one of our other products, or maybe what they purchased doesn't work out for them, or the timing changes. So we don't want to just lose them. We want to make sure marketing steps in again.
Just because the deal doesn't close doesn't mean we stop communicating. So, but we need a different set of messaging. Again, they already know, they're already aware of us now. So now we just want to send them great value every time we send something to them. So maybe we don't send it as often, but we definitely want to be able to send something that gives them value, that gives them information that they can actually do something with periodically so they remember us. And even if they bought from somebody else, they may come back later. Or like you said, Liz, the timing wasn't right, so this keeps us in front of them until the timing is right. So either way, we have a role all the way through the buyer journey. And by the way, for those of you who have sales funnels or pipelines set up, those should match your buyer journey. There should be no disconnect. People want to talk about buyer journey and, funnels are dead and, pipelines and this and that. You know what? Here's the deal. It's basically this. If you have a pipeline and a process for working someone through a sale, it should be the same as the buyer journey. So your sales funnel, your sales pipeline should map the buyer journey, and then there's no confusion.
So let's think about all of the different, whoops, I just went too far. Back, I say. Okay.
That crazy computer would have had a mind of its own.
So let's be a little bit more specific about how and where sales and marketing can collaborate, because there are lots of great ways. So one of the things is that marketing has spent all this time on messaging, and then we leave sales to write their own emails.
Yeah, that's crazy.
They can write their own emails, but it sure would be great if they had some content to choose from to write their emails with, right?
Right. So content, let's think about what does content look like. So a lot of companies are using short videos now, and there's tons of great video programs out there.
And emails with videos in them are so effective.
Yes, and they're getting opened at an amazing rate. So think about, what kind of content can you use? You can use videos. You can use attachments. You can insert information right into the email. You can give them a link to send them to something. Also think about, a lot of times we're just gating everything. Like, they're already on your list. Why do you have to gate it? Send them a link and let them have the information, for goodness sake. But use some kind of tracking software so that you know that they actually clicked the link. Now, a lot of the softwares out there today have that. One of the ones we love is called SalesWings. If you don't have HubSpot or something, Infusionsoft, Salesforce that's very fancy, you can just simply get something like SalesWings, and then that can track and tell you whether they opened the links or not. But think about all the different kinds of content that marketing can build with great messaging in it that is not just salesy, it's giving people value, and then make sure salespeople have that in their hands. I mean, That's just basically where we have to start, getting great content in the hands of the salespeople.
Remember, too, that marketing can help sales do a couple of critical things. One is that sales needs to build credibility. And when they have really great content to share, either in social media or through emails or whatever they choose to use, they're building credibility. And the more credible our salespeople are, the more trusted they are, the more likely they are to win the deal. The second thing is that objections, we know what typical objections are, and if we have really great content around objections, it's not just the salesperson answering, but they actually have some great tools and stories that they can use to show how we can solve these problems that people are concerned about. That, again, builds great credibility.
And this is so easy to do. Simply have marketing team talk to sales team and say, what objections are you hearing all the time? And when they get that information, then they can build case studies and they can build content that speaks to each of those specific objections, and then salespeople have those at their fingertips. I mean, here's another thing. When sales and marketing are collaborating, they are going to have a way to get things to salespeople quickly and easily. For example, like Modus. They have App Data Room.
Oh, yeah.
And App Data Room makes it so easy for marketing to just push the information right to the salespeople, so they always have the most current content. They have the most updated price sheets. They have the most updated slide decks. They have everything that is, current and nothing that isn't current, so no mistakes can be made. And they're in front of their customer. They open their App Data Room, and everything is right there for them. So we've got to find great tools that help sales and marketing collaborate as well.
The other thing that we want to remember as a sales and marketing team is that if we have a B2B complex sale or an enterprise sale, chances are that as hard as a sales rep tries, they may not be able to personally reach every single person that they need to communicate with in the selling process or in the buying, that's part of the buying decision. And so when marketing has really great content and we identify an issue, then sales can send it on to a person that they need to be communicating with. So the more great content, the better tools we have for sharing it, the more effective our sales team is at reaching all of the people with the right messaging within the buying decision.
Yeah, and at the right time, because here we are moving through the sales process, and everybody's complaining that sales cycles are getting longer and more complicated. But truly, if we map our process and have content to use along the way, it's not as difficult. So your sales people probably know what they need to say. And I'm sure, you're giving them training and they have, lots of things to help them. But we just want to make sure the messaging is consistent. I mean, I've heard some of the craziest things you can imagine.
Oh, I know it.
And so I think that if you think all your salespeople have all the right messaging about all your products and services, you should probably pause for a moment, take stock, and think about it. I would love to have like a Family Feud game where marketing was on one side and sales was on the other, and we'd ask them a question and see what the messaging was for the answer.
That would be great.
I think it probably would not be the same. So we just want to make sure that the messaging's there, everybody agrees on it, and everybody has it ready to use
when they need it. So how do we bridge the gap between sales and marketing? It's about alignment and collaboration.
Yes, and when sales and marketing collaborate through all these phases of generating leads, it's phenomenal how many more leads we can generate and how much, and they're more qualified leads as well. But let's not leave it just there. We can go all the way through the entire customer life cycle with sales and marketing collaborating, getting the right messaging for the right time of that life cycle, and making sure that everybody's aware, has what they need, and the customers are the ones who win. They become much happier customers because they have the right communication at the right time, and they really understand how to use your products and services because you continue to communicate with them through these updates, tips, videos, ongoing training, all the different messaging that you send that will help them really use your products and services better, but also help with your retention rates and help you upsell. And happy customers give referrals. That's a topic for another time, but these are all things that we can do when we can really align our sales and marketing to the point where we can collaborate.
Right, collaborate to deliver the right messaging at the right time to the right people, and it becomes extremely powerful.
Right. So just looking at our map again real quickly, before we do questions, remembering that our goal is to get sales and marketing on the same page and having a lot of fun together because everybody wins. We want to identify our target audience, build awareness, and develop interest together, right? And that means that if we have messaging going out to a specific target audience, and that's our big, broad messaging, we have a way or a trigger to change that messaging when someone becomes a prospect and help the salesperson along. And we have a way to change that messaging again when they turn into a client and help that client become a more loyal customer, learn more about our products and services, and we have lots more opportunities when we collaborate in this way.
So hopefully that gave you some really good ideas about how to align sales and marketing to bridge that gap and to collaborate into successful relationships that build great revenue. But we want to give you a chance to share your thoughts and ask some questions. So we're going to give you just a minute. If you have questions, please feel free to add them.
So find that Ask Questions tab, click on that, and then go ahead and type your question in. Oh, here's one right now, Liz, that just came in. This one says, I work with a marketing director who knows absolutely nothing about sales. How do I begin to bridge the gap?
Well, I think the first thing that I would say is there's some really great books, videos, training out there, and maybe you could help them find something that would help them understand a little bit about the buyer journey and the selling process and how those two things are linked and what the salesperson's responsibility is. There's a couple really great books. I mean, Anthony Iannarino's Everything You Need to Know. What is it? The only book you
ever need, or something like that about sales.
Or Daniel Pink's book is great.
To Sell is Human. That's a great one to start marketing people on because it's really very basic about how humans communicate in the sale. But what I would say is this. I'm guessing your marketing director probably knows something about sales. And what I would say is develop a good relationship, maybe go out to lunch. If you're not in the same location, maybe get on a Skype call or something where you can, see each other and walk through the sales process with the marketing director. But even better yet, if you can, take that marketing director on some sales calls.
Absolutely.
And let them ride with you or with one of the salespeople and see what it looks like day to day. Have them shadow a salesperson and learn about that. A lot of young people are in the workplace now, and they graduate from college and have one or two jobs, and all of a sudden they're the director of marketing. Well, that person hasn't had a chance to even learn about sales. So give them that opportunity. Let them really learn about sales. All right, any other questions? Go ahead and type those in.
So,
all right, here's another one. Hang on. Let's see. It says, it seems like we need our own content in order to generate leads. There's no one at our company who can produce content. What should we do? Oh, yeah. We hear that one all the time.
But, here's an interesting thing. So, content, again, we went through all the different things that content can mean. That's
right.
The first thing. The second thing is, as a salesperson, you have a tremendous amount of information in your head already. So if there's no one at your company to create content, is that because there's no marketing person at all, or because that marketing person doesn't know what to write about? And if the marketing person doesn't know what to write about, perhaps you could share some of the insights and information that you have with that person to help them see what kind of content you're going to need.
Yeah, so as a sales leader or marketing leader, and we have clients with marketing leaders who don't have time to produce content, but as the leaders of the company, there's a couple different things can do. First of all, remember, content is more than a blog, right?
Right.
Content can be videos. Content can be a white paper. You can outsource people to write blogs and white papers and ebooks for you, but there are also lots of companies that produce great content and don't compete directly with you, but they're in your industry. So if you watch industry trends and you watch others in your industry, you'll see that they're posting great content on LinkedIn or Twitter or Facebook or wherever they may be posting, and you can share their content, or you can ask them to guest blog for you. So there's definitely ways to get content even if you don't have your own. Oh, okay, hang on, another question's coming in.
So do you suggest sales and marketing hold weekly, monthly, or quarterly meetings to make sure we stay aligned? That's a great question.
Yes, of course. I mean, absolutely, and I think it's part of the plan. When sales and marketing get together, the leadership needs to decide how often they'll meet to stay aligned. But the salespeople and the other people in the marketing department, you may have the VP of sales and the VP of marketing, but there's a lot of people in some companies that make marketing run, and many of you have 6, 8, 10, or 50 salespeople. So there has to be a way to keep everybody on board. So when marketing comes out with a new white paper, or when marketing comes out with a new download of some type, then they should absolutely have some sort of webinar or something to share with all the salespeople. Here's what we've come up with for content. Here's who we think will be most interested in it. Here's how we plan on using it. Here's how you can use it. So absolutely, keep those meetings flowing and make sure that when you have new content, new messaging, it definitely gets you get the salespeople trained on it.
So more specifically, I would say this. A monthly meeting would be a good thing. But if there are events or activities that drive a need for information, for instance, if you have an event coming up, then 8 weeks before that event, sales and marketing need to get together and make sure that they have all the bases covered. So really, monthly is good, but you may have events that drive more frequent meetings or more specific topic meetings.
Regular meetings and then meetings as needed. If you're doing a lot of events, somebody from sales and marketing has to be assigned to have those meetings together and then get the information back out to everybody else. So let's see, I see another question here. What are your favorite marketing and sales alignment tools for combined pipeline management and marketing automation? Oh, boy. Yeah, that, I hate to say this, but it depends, right?
Tremendously.
A lot of people are using HubSpot these days, and it can do a lot for a small company, but it isn't inexpensive, and the biggest mistake is thinking that it's plug and play. It's not. You have to learn how to use it. You have a lot of setup to do before you can start using it, and it definitely has a CRM component, but I wouldn't really call it a pipeline manager because it doesn't give you all the reporting that you necessarily need. But it does give some. So HubSpot can be one. I haven't looked at Infusionsoft for a long time. That's more marketing automation as far as I know. Salesforce, of course, with all of its add-ins, there's a million things in the App Store for Salesforce now that you can use. But I think there isn't really a great tool that's inexpensive for small businesses for pipeline management and marketing automation. Most people are hacking those two together, so I'm sorry to say that is the answer. But that is the answer. But we'll be happy to talk with you more specifically. We can get on a call for 30 minutes. You can tell us exactly what you're trying to accomplish, and we can tell you which tools we think will be best for what you're trying to accomplish. So please feel free to schedule an appointment with us. You can reach us on any of our social media to do that. LinkedIn's probably the easiest one, and then we'll send you a link so that you can schedule. All right, any other questions?
As a marketing director, my boss, president of the firm, is constantly asking me to go to sales with drafts of content to ask for feedback, but I end up with 7 different opinions and can never please everyone. Any ideas with dealing with too many cooks in the kitchen?
I'm so sorry. First of all right, so sales doesn't know how to write email. Let's just put it that way. very few salespeople are excellent writers. We are really looking to marketing to draft the content and have it be really compelling, not salesy, loaded with value. And if you're doing cold emails, one of the companies we follow and get a lot of information from is called SalesFolk, SALES, S as in Frank, OLK, SalesFolk. You can learn a ton about how to have great sales content in your emails. I think that asking sales is probably, that's tough. I think you basically have to say, here's the cadence, here's a set of 5 emails that string together in this way, and the first one introduces us, and the second one offers some content, and the third one, and they go on and on like this, and by the third or fourth one, you've got some call to actions, and you need to set that up for them. Now, it also depends if sales is sending those out or if marketing is sending them out, because it's different depending on who is sending them out. Again, I'd love to get on the phone with you for 30 minutes and talk through it, because I think we can fix it up fast. Liz, you were going to say.
And I have a real quick thought, and that is that you may be going about this backwards. Rather than going to sales and asking for their input when you're done, go to sales and ask for their input before you start. So if you're creating content, ask them for things that they want content about, or ask them for, if you're going to do an email series, ask them what things they think need to be in it, rather than doing it and then going to them and saying, hey, what do you think of this? Because you will definitely get pulled in many different directions. But understanding what they need before you start will help a lot.
Yeah, and I also think that some of the problem might be coming from maybe lack of a strategic plan and the direction. Because if you've got a direction that you're headed and you know what you want your end result to be, and that matches the vision of the company, then all of this should kind of be flowing from that. And so why don't you give us a chance to talk with you on the phone for 30 minutes. There's no obligation. It's free. We will just listen to your problem, give you some ideas, and see if we can help.
Yeah.
All right. Any last questions? We're just to about the end of the time here. I'm looking to see if there's any other questions coming in. And it doesn't look like it. So we're really happy to talk with you. As we mentioned, you can schedule some time to chat with us. You can send us through LinkedIn. You can send us a message. We'll send you a link. You can email us. It's really easy. It's alice@aliceheiman.com and liz@aliceheiman.com. And we're totally happy. And let's see, somebody said, can you give us the website? Yes, salesfolk.com. You spelled it exactly right, and it's salesfolk.com. So then go to their downloads, and they have if you kind of have to scroll down, it's either resources or downloads, and then there's 2 great ebooks, and they're short and easy to read, and they have tons of examples packed with great content. So definitely go and download those.
And if you connect with us on LinkedIn, we're happy to connect with you, but please tell us where you met us so we know, and let us know what you'd like for help so we can respond to that.
All right. If there aren't any other questions, I'm going to wait one more second and see if another question pops up here. Looks like we are good to go. So thanks, everyone, for joining us today. It's been a pleasure to talk with you about bridging the gap between sales and marketing. We'll have some articles on our blog as well, which is smartsalestips.com, or you can just go to aliceheiman.com and click blog, and there'll be lots more information. So have a wonderful day, everyone, and thank you again for joining us.
Thanks for joining us.